John McAfee, Brock Pierce, Charlie Lee. Those are all names. Cindy, Roberto, Fred, those are also names. Now, we don't know who those last three are, but the first three have been on this show. However, there's one name we've been in hot pursuit of for 2.5 years, and it turns out he's the most requested name from the citizens of Bad Cryptopia. That person is Vitalik Buterin, the founder of Ethereum. One of the most influential people in blockchain. We had the pleasure of meeting Vitalik in Denver while attending the ETH Denver conference, and he was gracious enough to sit down with us for a 30-minute conversation. We were joined by Adam Barlam, developer of the Bravocoin app, because we wanted representation by someone who spoke Vitalik's language. No. Not Russian. No, not that language, Travis. The language of the developer, geek. And at this very same event, we had the pleasure of discovering a new social media app that both Travis and I are enjoying very much. It's called Pepo, and you'll meet Jason Goldburg, one of the founders. So get ready for an epic episode with one of the biggest names in crypto, Vitalik Buterin, on this episode number 379 of the Bad Crypto Podcast.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition.
Who's bad?
Hello, friends from around the world, greeting you from all of the countries on the map that listen to the show. This is the Bad Crypto Podcast. My name is Joel Comm.
And I am Travis Wright. And can you believe that we are listened to in over 190 countries? Does that seem weird?
I don't believe it.
You know what? It says so in the analytics, but that's all fine and dandy. You can be a skeptic if you like, Mr. Joel Comm.
That could be fake news.
Could be.
It's pretty exciting, though. We appreciate all of you listening, and we have got a fantastic show for you today. You're not going to want to miss a beat of this. I mean, we got Vitalik, we got Jason from Pepo. We're building a community on Pepo. It's going to be absolutely loaded, gang, and you're going to want to make sure you bookmark and share this episode with others. But let's give shout outs to our sponsors for this episode that make it all possible. We're very involved with both of these. The first one is called SoMe Social, SOMEE. It's a blockchain-based social media platform that's designed for privacy, end user control, and content monetization, meaning you're getting paid for your content and for your curation efforts. Twitter don't do that. Instagram don't do that. Facebook don't do that. Those homies, they don't play that way. Ad revenue sharing and a social dashboard that helps streamline your posting to all the major social platforms from one platform. Check it out. Visit SoMe, SOMEE.social today. Get signed up. Follow me at Joel Comm and at are you at Travis Wright or at TW?
I am at, I think I'm at Travis Wright over there.
Okay, find him.
I think that's so confusing. Sometimes I'm just TW. Sometimes it's just a letter T, letter W.
Sounds like you're having an identity crisis.
No, I don't believe so. But it's just like sometimes when you get the first on one of these platforms, you can be like, oh, I could be Travis, right? Like I could have literally been letter T, letter W on Twitter, but I didn't think about it. Then I could have been Travis Wright on Twitter too, but I didn't think of that. My grandpa always called me TW, so I like to always spell out TW. Also want to give a shout out to MobiPay. Payments are going mobile, but the current transfer of money very slow and expensive. And now we're finding out that money is even dirty. It's dirty fiat that has germs on it. So we need to get a mobile solution quickly, preferably one with blockchain technologies that would help speed things up. That's what MobiPay does. Has a consumer wallet, which does some really cool things, cash back, banking with your debit card, peer-to-peer payments. There's a MobiX exchange that's going to be rolled out, MobiPay. Check all that out. Go to MobiPay.io, MobiPay.io, and get yourself $10 worth of their MBX tokens. Go do that now because I think that might be going away. So go get it before it's gone.
The app's coming soon and website design is coming soon. And why wouldn't you take free cryptos? We appreciate our sponsors. We appreciate you. And we really know that you are going to appreciate this interview with the one and only Vitalik Buterin. And finally, at long last, after many kidnapping attempts, We finally have the one and only Vitalik Buterin here on the sofa with us at ETH Denver. Actually, you came willingly.
Mm-hmm. I am here fully voluntarily.
Yeah, there's nobody said like, I'll give you 1 ETH and you'll give me back 10.
No.
We're glad that you're here. And of course, this event here, ETH Denver, with the Pega Una Mega Buffacorn thing, you being here, how does that feel when you see what's come of your beloved Ethereum?
It's nice, and I'm actually very happy to see the progress that Ethereum, the platform, has made, the progress that the Ethereum community has made, and all of these things over the last 5 years. And it definitely feels like it has been a long journey, but I'm very satisfied with the kinds of applications that are coming out, the kinds of things that people are just thinking about and trying to do, just projects that have already been done, these things. So it's and it feels like the Ethereum ecosystem has kind of turned into this kind of self-sustaining and great thing.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, one thing that excites me about this event is how gamified it is, right? I've never seen a conference. I don't know if there's ever been a conference as gamified as this one, using cryptos and like connecting with people, and you gain XP, and like, what are some of your thoughts on how they're using the technology to create this fun environment for people?
Yeah, and the Ethereum culture is definitely, and have always been, a fun-loving one. And dogfooding is great, and it's good. Not just kind of thinking about the tools that we're building in theory, but try to actually use them in practice. It's great to see all of the experiments. I mean, good to see people having fun. Good to see a lot of different things being tried.
Both Travis and I come from a marketing technologist and social media and marketing background, long before we were podcasting. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You're like,
marketers.
Ooh. And, for me, as I look at Ethereum, we've interviewed so many projects, especially during ICO season, that were, ERC-20, and some of them legit. Some of them turned out to be not so legit. Some of them legit, but couldn't stay, alive during the downturn. But to me, I feel like NFTs are really the killer app for Ethereum, especially when we see gaming entering that space. So I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on ERC-721s and 1155s?
Yeah, and ERC-721s and gaming definitely seem like a use case a lot of people are excited about. It definitely seems like a lot of people are excited about this idea of creating kind of gaming worlds that are kind of connected to each other in some way, instead of just being independent silos.
Did you envision that when you
I did not.
You didn't see. I mean, which is, of course, is the great thing about the community, right? They're going to come up with the applications.
Yep, exactly. And I was seeing applications come up, people come up with that I never even imagined, is definitely one of the best things about Ethereum.
Yeah, I mean, I have this, of course, I'm not the only one. They have this vision of creating a sword that's in one game, but then being able to sell it for use in another.
Yep, exactly.
Going to have to be a lot of weird cooperation for that.
Yeah. I know. I mean, it'll be weird to have spaceships in World of Warcraft, but...
Well, there was Argus, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if you play the game, but they did, in Outland, they did kind of go to space in World of Warcraft.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
One thing that I think is interesting. So I'm a big sports fan, right? I live in Kansas City, and tickets now don't really exist. Tickets are you get to scan a QR code, or you get to show them your phone, but you don't get tickets anymore. And that's one thing that I like about NFTs, is the fact that I was somewhere. So one thing that was invented last year here at ETH Denver was POAP, Proof of Attendance Protocol.
Patricio.
Patricio, I remember. It was
great dude.
Yeah.
And we've been working with him on creating NFTs around our podcast. So what we'll do is every interesting podcast interview that we have, and we'll pick select ones, we'll do a special NFT for that particular one, where we're working with Patricio to create this proof of listening. So the fact is, like, I was here. I was at this wild card game. I was at this game, and there's no way to prove that anymore. I got a printout off of my printer that I printed and took it in there and showed it to, like, it's like, to me, it's one of those things, like,
It's a proof you were somewhere. It's proof that you've done something. It's sort of an interesting sort of passport is a kind of a thing that with NFTs. What are some of the maybe long-term things that you could see, those non-fungible tokens doing, maybe aside from some of the digital collectible stuff?
Yeah, I mean, using them as conference tickets is definitely great. Using them as generally kind of proof that you did things or that things happened. I know even a lot of projects that are trying to kind of use that as an element to like reward people who are like planting trees or doing things to solve climate change as one example. And in general, there's a lot of use cases for this kind of thing.
In fact, there was one project that we had on the show early on, Event Chain, that was an ERC-20. Ashton Addison came up with that, and they've survived, the great crypto winter, and they're putting tickets for events on blockchain, right, to avoid fraudulent tickets.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah, definitely interesting stuff going on there. I want to actually talk about this. We met your dad last night, Dimitri, and he looks so young. Mm-hmm. So, I was just curious. When
it's a Russian thing.
It was interesting to me. I was expecting like an older gray dude, like, oh, it's Vitalik's dad. Like, wait a second, he's super young too.
He looks younger than you.
Yeah. So, how was it having a dad who's like a super coding guy to sort of take you in? Because I have a young dude myself. My kid's 18. It's like, what were some of the things that your dad instilled in you and helped spark your curiosity about development at an early age?
And he's definitely been very supportive the whole time of me attempting to learn science and learn programming. Like, he bought me some books that were about learning how to code when I was 10, and I got really into it. He kind of signed me up to some courses on the weekends where I would learn how to program video games. And I think that was definitely really helpful to me. Like, when I was much younger, I definitely did a lot of programming video games for myself to play, and then when I got bored of them, I'd program another one.
Did you, you're just a couple years younger than my son. I remember when he was little, we bought him CDs that they were games for kids, but they were made to teach you coding. Did you have all those and go through those, and you're like, this is basic stuff?
I don't think I went through those, actually. No, I was more just programming games for myself to play.
You were just on it. So are you a video gamer?
And I was before. I don't really have time for it now.
Right, because what are you doing then? Are you focusing on the next generation of Ethereum, or are you leading the team on that?
That's part of it, as kind of research and kind of trying to figure out what things need to be done and what things need to kind of have more people working on them. Also, just kind of continually going around and learning and understanding the community and things that people are building with blockchains, and Ethereum particularly. And thinking about more kind of big picture things about what the Ethereum foundation and Ethereum ecosystem should focus on.
Is there a sense of what 2.0 should really look like? Because I know this is kind of like, when's this happening?
Yeah, and 2.0 is technically almost fully specified at this point. And we figured out what proof of stake is, we figured out what sharding is, we figured out how to implement it. It's mostly just a tiny details and implementation that's left.
Yeah, so the question is when?
So it's easier to predict the near future than the further future. And in the near future, the 2.0 is very close to having multi-client testnets. It's going through this optimization phase. It's going through this auditing phase. A lot of bugs are being fixed. A lot of efficiency issues are being fixed. And it's looking like, launch in the summer for at least the proof of stake part is very likely. And then sharding is the next big thing that's going to come after proof of stake. And sharding is technically almost specified, but it's still needs to be developed, of course. And people are starting to do this, but
I just sharded myself.
Watch out.
God, please don't do that joke.
Oh no, he's making a face palm. He got a mic palm.
It's been done so many times, but I can't help it. This is what the show is all about.
We actually have Adam Barlam with us, who is the head of Bravocoin.
Bravo.
He's tuning in here, listening here.
Yeah, he doesn't have a mic.
And he's a developer. He doesn't have a mic. Matter of fact, here, why don't you go ahead and ask him a question, because that was a good one you have.
Sure. So Vitalik, I'm curious about the transitionary phase, going over from proof of stake to proof of work. Do you plan on having a hybrid model where there's still going to be the network's still going to be operating on proof of stake and proof of work, or is it going to be strictly moving over to proof of stake only?
So recently, we've actually been moving in the direction of getting a move to pure proof of stake and have accomplished more quickly. So our general approach, right, is that we start off this new proof of stake chain, and it starts off just doing nothing and kind of running independently and surviving. And then we add sharding, and then once it proves itself, there would be this kind of merger where the state of the proof of work chain, so meaning like all the account balances, all the contract code, all of the contract storage, and all of that stuff, like would basically just be moved all at once into the proof of stake chain, and then from there on it would be maintained by the proof of stake sharded chain, and the proof of work chain would just kind of fall away, and no one would build on it anymore.
Since you're going to be moving to proof of stake, there's a lot of people, a lot of critics who say that proof of stake is more centralized as a result. What's your response to that? And do you think there's going to be an issue where potentially people would move over maybe to like Ethereum Classic or stay on the original chain because it's proof of work?
So I actually think proof of work is more centralized. So a couple of reasons for this, right? One is that with proof of stake, you can participate if you have any amount of money. You know, you have your 32 ETH, you spin up your node and you run it on your laptop and you're there. Whereas with proof of work, you need to have like millions of dollars of capital investment. And then you also have less censorship resistance because like there's no way that governments don't know where all the mining farms are just because they require so much space and like so much electricity. And so that's one thing. Like I think proof of stake actually is more egalitarian in terms of people's ability to participate. But also I think that in the event that it does centralize, proof of stake has better opportunities for getting out of 51% attacks than proof of work does. Yeah, like in the case of proof of work, you know, like if someone gets more than half of all the hardware, like you can't fork them off. Like they have the ASICs and you're stuck with them and they can keep whacking your chain forever. Whereas with proof of stake, you can make a kind of fork and you can kind of kick them out and delete their deposits. And so a lot more opportunities for recovery.
Do you consider that centralization then if you can kick them out?
No, because we've actually come up with a bunch of ways to make the kicking out part automated.
Very interesting. I want to ask you about this on Blocktivity. So I'm looking at Blocktivity and I'm looking at some of the amount of transactions that some of the other blockchains are doing. So for example, EOS today, or in the last 24 hours, has done over 50 million transactions on the it looks like. And then on their best day ever was 74 million. So they're kind of being able to scale. What how many transactions per second is Ethereum 2.0 going to be able to do? Because I know how, you know, Crypto Kitties clogged the network that one time and everybody was like, should we build on Ethereum or not? Yeah. How does the new Ethereum, how is that going to work as far as transactions and amount of transactions, and will it still get clogged up like it had been before?
So it could give like concrete numbers. So just to kind of have the same scale to like what we could focus on simple payments, right? So simple payments, the current Ethereum chain does 36 transactions a second. And if you check on Etherscan, in reality, like it's around 10, sometimes going up to 15, but that's because people often do things on Ethereum that are much more complex than simple payments. So 36 on the current chain. If you do a roll-up, so optimistic roll-up or ZK roll-up, like one of those two, these kind of layer 1.5 scaling things that are becoming hot recently, it goes up to 2,500. If you do just sharding, it goes up to maybe 2,000 and 10,000. And if you do a roll-up on top of sharding, it goes up to 100,000 to 1 million.
Per second?
Yes.
Wow.
That's super fast.
That's like Visa. You could do Visa on Ethereum at that point.
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned Crypto Kitties, so I want to allude to that. That thing just kind of hit the scene. I don't know if you knew that was coming or what you thought it would do, but man, it just clogged the chain with cat poop, right? What did you, that moment where you're like, oh man?
No, definitely. It was, the whole 2017 bubble was definitely a big kind of demand shock that we were not ready for.
Interesting. So you see a lot of projects, and without endorsing anything, what have you seen lately that makes you go, oh, on Ethereum, that was like, oh, I never would have thought of that. That's super cool.
A lot of things. And a lot of the decentralized finance stuff is like getting just really interesting and kind of powerful in terms of just the convenience that it offers for kind of moving between all of these different assets. A lot of non-financial applications, I mean, even just things like using the blockchain to store records of like what keys have been revoked. Like, and it sounds boring, but it lets you have things like university certificates on the blockchain, which a bunch of places in Singapore are actually doing, for example.
Yeah, I think we covered that recently. I think that's a great application. I don't think it's boring at all. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, you know, the great applications are often the boring ones.
Right. Well, this is interesting. You mentioned DeFi because a story just popped up.
Yeah. First of all, for some of our listeners, maybe don't even understand DeFi. Could you maybe explain DeFi for them who are, because we got some novices that listen, we got some advanced people, but we got all mixes on our show.
And DeFi stands for decentralized finance, so it basically just means like financial applications that are decentralized and kind of not dependent on a single trusted party that are running on the blockchain. So the big ones include, so one of them is stable coins. So kind of Maker and Dai is the first example of that. And there might be others coming soon. Decentralized exchange. So things like Uniswap, but also some of the others like Kyber and Banker and now like Loopring and all of the StarkX and all of these other ones. Synthetics, so kind of generally having assets that are kind of pegged to some index. I think those are probably the big kind of decentralized financy things that are available right now. But like generally, the idea that like you are able to do all of the things that you would do within the existing financial kind of ecosystem, but within the crypto ecosystem, and it's just kind of so much more efficient and faster.
How do we make the DeFi more secure? Because we noticed he had brought up this information today that the protocol BZX had been hacked today. Were you aware of that? There was a vulnerability, I think, in a smart contract. You can read through that.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't know the details yet.
Yeah.
It's kind of springing it on him, but
no, that's fair. And this is definitely the sort of thing that has happened before and will happen again. I mean, the DAO was being the most famous example. And I have publicly spoken out against the kind of overly trusting DeFis that aren't reliable. Like I remember there's about a year ago when people were getting really excited about how Compound has 11% interest rates and basically saying that like, look, like grandmas should move their money into Compound because it's so much better. And I'm like, dude, if you can earn 11% inside of DeFi, but 1% in the real world, like there's a reason why that 10% has not yet been arbitraged into an existence, right? And so that 10% represents like risk that the system could break. And like, you don't want to push people into systems that have a risk of breaking and pretend that those systems are fully reliable and trustless. So I definitely encourage being careful with kind of exotic financial things, decentralized or otherwise.
If it's too good to be true, it sounds too good to be true.
Well, like Celsius is built on an ERC-20, and that's what they're doing, right?
Wait, Celsius, like the temperature scale,
like the token.
Oh god, they made a token. Okay,
Alex Mashinsky's project.
Okay,
and
that's where the banks, when they do their arbitrage and they're making all that money on loaning money out and all that, basically sending that into the crypto side, which is not a bad idea. But if it's not secure,
right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I definitely kind of caution against people kind of over optimizing with DeFis. Like, the main way in which DeFis should be competing with each other is not on increasing the interest rates that they offer, but on decreasing the chance that they break.
Not your keys, not your crypto. I want to reference off of Ethereum here a story that we covered on last week's news. You were quoted talking about Bitcoin Cash.
Yes.
Bitcoin Cash is not Bitcoin. I'm curious, where as an impartial third party, right? Because you're not Satoshi Nakamoto, you're not Roger Ver or anybody on the Bitcoin.com team. Why do you feel like I don't, just give an overview, your whole thoughts on the whole debacle.
I mean, so like, first of all, back when the Bitcoin block size debate was happening, I was definitely kind of on the big blocker side. And kind of my general view is that kind of how to set block size is that there's this trade-off between kind of cost of reading from a blockchain and cost of writing to a blockchain. And if block sizes go up, then transaction fees go down, so the cost of writing goes down, but then the cost of reading goes up because you need more to have a full node. And then if blocks are too small, then anyone can read it, but it's really hard to write to it because transaction fees are high. And I basically felt like the cost of a single transaction was reaching like more than the cost of operating a phone node for an entire year. And so it was very clearly kind of just over biased toward the kind of making it easy to read side. And I had this opinion. And so I felt like kind of Bitcoin Cash was kind of, quote, right on the technicals. And I also had kind of moral issues with things like the censorship that was happening on the Bitcoin side and these other things. But then over time, I mean, there were things with the Bitcoin Cash side that kind of disappointed me. Like one of them was the community just getting attracted to Craig Wright and kind of believing all of those crazy things.
You mean he's not Satoshi?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Nah,
This is breaking
fortunately.
news.
The other thing was also just getting like so really, really worked up on like criticizing Bitcoin rather than on promoting their own thing. And like their mentality was just kind of they keep on and like recycling these arguments from like what happened 3 years ago. And even if I think they have a valid point, I think that like, you know, you're not going to attract a new community by kind of just telling people how evil some other team they've never heard of is. And I kept telling them this, and they've been kind of disappointed in a lot of ways. The most recent thing, the Jiang Zhuar's proposal to have 12.5% of the mining reward go into a quote Hong Kong corporation that would pay for development. I thought it was interesting. Interesting because, like, first of all, it signals open-mindedness, right? It signals the fact that, like, these people are willing to kind of go beyond, you know, immutabilist dogma and kind of think about different approaches of funding public goods. And particularly, they realized the argument for why voluntary donations are insufficient for funding public goods. Because, like, Bitcoin Cash people are historically kind of very anarcho-capitalist, and a lot of those people, like, they do have this kind of misconception that if something is not paid for by voluntary donations, that by itself automatically means that it's not worth that it's not worth existing. And there's kind of economic kind of tragedy of the commons arguments why that's not true. And so I was very happy that they kind of understood this. But at the same time, like, I had my deep concerns with the governance and how it was this kind of very opaque corporation. And the debate was really interesting to watch, and it was interesting to kind of see the different arguments and see how the different arguments kind of reveal the different underlying opinions about kind of what actually is the core philosophy of kind of how governance is supposed to work. Like, is it about issuance being incredibly neutral? Is it about like the miners actually control the thing, and so they have the kind of the collective right to direct the revenue wherever they want? Is it something else? And then eventually, Zhuar made this kind of second proposal where he basically said, "Oh, we're gonna like look at governance more seriously. We're gonna start the thing with donated money, run it for a bit, and only if people are happy with it, we'll start actually put more and do a soft fork to put more money into that." So, I don't know, my own response was kind of a mixture of kind of being happy that they were taking issues seriously and also being unhappy about just kind of their ideology around governance. But in general, kind of the big picture thing is that this feels like the first time that Bitcoin Cash people are talking more about Bitcoin Cash than they are about Bitcoin.
And referencing it as Bitcoin. That's always been our beef, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, hey, there's room for all kinds of creativity, and fork that thing. Travis is going to fork Ethereum Cash, right? Isn't that
Ethereum Cash Gold?
It's the branding that's confusing in the marketplace.
Yeah. And it's like, you could argue that kind of thinking of Bitcoin Cash as a flavor of Bitcoin is like kind of okay. You know, they started from the same thing. It's kind of like, you know, you have like, I don't know, the Republic of Korea, the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, I know, share a name, reflect a common history. But like, the way that it's marketed in places like Bitcoin.com, it definitely like veers into misleading territory. And then like,
it Roger veers.
Yeah. Roger. And then Bitcoin Satoshi's vision just like does that like 10 times more extreme. And that's like extremely terrible and scammy in that in other ways too.
I want to ask you something here about the future. Here we are. We're February 15th timestamp right now at noon Mountain Time, and we know that the Bitcoin halving is happening in less than 90 days or whatever.
84, I think.
84 days, and there's a lot of different stuff. And there's we were talking about, we had a dude on the other day, Cedric Dahl. He was talking about unstoppable web happening and Filecoin and some of these other things that are launching with Handshake and this trying to get to the point where we're not having as much censorship on the web. Because right now, I don't think a lot of the technology pioneers thought we were going to get to the point where big tech was going to start censoring us like they were. How, maybe view into the future a little bit, what is 2020 like? And maybe how can Ethereum help with censorship in the world? Is there going to be a privacy component to this in the future, or some ways to help make the world better as far as no longer censoring the people?
Yeah, I mean, privacy is definitely something that we've been caring about more and more. I mean, the network as a thing that is censorship resistant and that runs is something that, you know, it's been established. I mean, it'll have to be kind of proven again, I think, when proof of stake comes, and like if the blockchain networks start coming under a kind of much more serious attack at some points in the future, which historically they haven't really been, but you know, they might. And then on the privacy side, like that's been kind of the biggest challenge, right? That all of your activity, no matter what you do, is just visible, and like pretty much anyone can kind of go and say like,
You can go
"Hey,
scrape Ethereum addresses, and it's like,
yeah," and they can go say like, "Hey, you, like why are you selling your ETH at this time?" Or like, why are you having transactions with this person or these other things?" And that's something that people are kind of realizing over time, and we have privacy solutions coming out. Like there was Tornado Cash, which I think did a really good job of kind of being usable. There's Aztec that's coming out. There's some other things, like there was an ETH research post yesterday about this thing called Zero Pool. So it's privacy definitely feels like it's kind of improving over time, and kind of getting to the point where kind of at least transactions on the scale that regular people would do kind of can't be all linked to each other that easily.
I want you to know I'm wearing our Bad Crypto shirt in honor of you today.
hold on, I gotta take a photo of that.
Satoshi and Vitalik and Charlie and Travis and Joel, because we too have created our own cryptocurrency, aptly titled Bad Coin, only mineable on bad computers.
Oh, interesting.
So it's a reverse algorithm type thing. If you try to use an ASIC farm on it, you're going to lose. But if you pull up your old PC, you know, your Pentium, as long as you got the connection to the mining software, you're going to win. You know, so we're for the little guy.
Oh, cool. Okay.
He's just saying that to be nice.
Now, I would ask you this: what was your strategy? Because you know, we were talking again to that Cedric guy, and he said that Handshake basically airdropped a whole bunch of tokens to the developers, right, as a way to get the developer community to activate on that project. What were some of the key things that you did early on? You developed Ethereum, but how did you get the developer community? How did you start seeding that in the beginning to really get this rolling thunder that we have now?
I feel like we just kind of published it, and people just kind of themselves came at the time. Like it definitely felt like there were a lot of people just like right then and there that wanted that sort of thing to exist.
If you build it, they will come. What does it feel like to get in on Ethereum at 0? Well, we appreciate you coming on here. I think, Adam, did you have one more question you wanted to hear? Let me hand you the mic there, and go ahead, Adam.
So going back to the future, you know, so right now, you know, we're building these decentralized networks, these decentralized platforms, but they're sitting on top of centralized systems. They're sitting on top of, you know, ICANN domains and centralized DNS that's run by root DNS servers. So what's your thoughts on what we need to do to change that so that the underlying infrastructure, such as DNS and ICANN domains and so on and so forth, moves over to a decentralized system?
And just like continue building the alternatives and kind of continue letting them kind of grow stronger and kind of prove themselves within their own context. And then I'm sure they'll get more and more adoption over time.
It's one of the things that Handshake and Filecoin, they're kind of creating that unstoppable web, creating a layer on top of before the DNS, which I think is interesting. I want to ask you this. I'm a big fan of sacred geometry.
Okay.
Right? So you got a tattoo.
Okay.
So, you know, that Metatron's cube, I'm not sure, but I was looking at this. What's interesting
about
Transformer?
Metatron.
Metatron's cube is all of the platonic solids are in this shape, right? In this shape,
fun.
It's all of those shapes, you know, the flower of life, that sacred geometry thing was etched in stones in 50 countries 10,000 years ago. They've dated this stuff.
It's the flower
it's pretty wild.
of life.
So I wanted to know the thought process, because in Socrates' days and Plato, they would say that each one of those platonic solids corresponded to a different element. Like, for example, the tetrahedron, which is basically a pyramid, that was fire. And then the hexahedron, which is a cube, that was earth. And the octahedron, that is the two pyramids on top of each other, which is basically the Ethereum logo, the octahedron. But the dodecahedron is actually ether. So you used the wrong one. We need you to use the one that's the pentagon instead.
You just need to fork it.
You know, do you want to make a PR to make that be the logo
I
for
think so,
2.0?
yeah. That needs to be Ethereum Cash.
Okay.
Okay, we're good with that? Just
Sure.
want to let you know.
What did you
The
say about
icosahedron
solids?
was
What was the solid thing?
Well, the platonic solids are basically every element in the element is made the periodic table of elements. Every element is one of those 5 shapes.
I think when we're done here, I need to go make a platonic solid.
Yourself?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They gotta
already
shard.
sharded, so it goes.
Hopefully, it becomes a plutonic solid. That's good.
Oh man, hey, so I think we need to make an NFT for this episode
For sure.
And you guys listen after this interview. We're going to tell you how to get the special collectible NFT featuring Vitalik Buterin and this episode.
That
It's
sounds
going to
great.
be awesome. Vitalik, dude, we want to welcome you to the Republic of Bad Cryptopia. Here's your honorary Bad Crypto hat.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks a lot, man. We're looking forward to seeing what you do next.
Thank you.
So it turns out, Mr. Travis Wright, Vitalik is one interesting cat. I mean, he, apart from Satoshi Nakamoto, he's got to be the second most influential person in blockchain.
You know what? Or, perhaps his dad. It was interesting, chatting with Vitalik and with his dad. I think his dad, super smart dude, for one, a coder on his own right, who's, I think, younger than both of us. He looked younger than me. I tell you what, really sharp dude. And then Vitalik, this guy, what a great interview. Очень хороший interview.
Well, if you're going to give Mr. Buterin, his father, credit, for influencing his son to become this, then shouldn't we give equal credence to Mrs. Nakamoto, the mother of Satoshi?
Mm-hmm.
Great mother of Satoshi.
Great mother of Satoshi. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Vitalik's mom was there also. I'm not sure. I didn't meet her, so I'm not sure on that. But what a smart guy, man. That was so awesome to be sitting there interviewing this guy. And then we have the whole thing on interview, and we got this cool blue hue light, kind of a purplish blue hue
for the video. Yeah.
And the video, yeah.
Now the audio's not the best on it, but I'm going to upload that to the Bad Crypto Mastermind and to our YouTube channel. So of course you can find Bad Crypto Podcast on YouTube, also on the Bad Crypto Mastermind at badco.in/mastermind. So check that out there, and don't go away yet. I want to tell you about our sponsor, Divvy. They're taking signups for their digital finance ecosystem that's going to offer crypto debit cards, instant bank accounts, and fiat to crypto on and off ramps right into your wallet. You want to be first in line to try this. Trust us. We're both all in on Divvy Project, and we're glad to have them as a sponsor for the show. Go to wallet.diviproject.org. Divvy is spelled D-I-V-I. Wallet.diviproject.org. Get your name and email on their list to be notified, so when this thing comes out in their mobile version, that you're going to get to play.
Меня нравится Divi.
So, Travis, while we were at ETH Denver on the second floor, they had many exhibitors there, and we talked to a lot of them, but there was one project that instantly drew my attention, and they had a screen up showing a demo of their product. It looked very TikTok-y, right? This TikTok is a major social app that has millions and millions and maybe a billion. I don't know how many people are using it now, but they use video in the social world as your content. And there was this guy there that was demonstrating an app called Pepo, P-E-P-O. And we had the opportunity to interview the co-founder, Mr. Jason Goldburg. And I want you guys to listen to this. And then since the interview, we've set up a Bad Crypto community, and we're going to tell you about it. But why don't you listen in first and see what you think about Pepo. And while you're listening, if you can download the app while you're listening, then go do that now, because you're going to want to get involved. Here we go. While roaming the ETH Denver floor here in Denver, not Deneth, Mr. Mike Tyson.
That's true. It's not called Denise, because that's where Mike Tyson liked to go get pancakes.
Yeah, no, it's not Deneth.
Rudy Tooty Freshy Fruity, my favorite, Joel.
It's ETH Denver. Ran across a merchant that had a booth here. It's called Pepo. It's an app, and it's like TikTok, but for blockchain. And we have with us right now the co-founder, chief cook and bottle washer, Pepo man himself, Mr. Jason Goldburg.
Thanks so much for having me. It's really, really great to meet you guys.
Is it okay to call you Peppa Man?
You can call me whatever you want as long as you call me.
Peppa Man.
There you go.
Well, the other guy he's got, your co-founder, is Paul. So when I
we
met
got
him,
a bunch of folks here. We got Paul, we got Ben, Simona, Got 5 people from our team here.
I mean, just as this is some free marketing for you, okay? But I would, on your business cards, have Pepo Ben, Pepo Paul.
There you go.
Like, you guys just need to go ahead and own that brand. And because it reminds me of like when Zappos, that's what Tony Shea did. All the Zappos accounts had Zappos in the name.
I don't have a business card, though. That's the thing.
It stood out. You have a Twitter?
I do have Twitter, yeah.
Yeah.
But I've had the same Twitter handle since 2008. You know, I was an investor in Twitter in 2008.
Why you got to be difficult?
Sorry, man. Just
Can you get a word to Jack
Come on,
for me?
Peppo,
Because
Come on, how are you doing?
Jack is making me unhappy these
is he
days.
what? What's Jack doing?
Oh, Jack's like, so just yesterday I saw a tweet on my feed from somebody I'm not following at all.
It's the worst thing.
I'm like,
it happens to me all the time.
What's the point of this? And it was in a foreign language. It was totally irrelevant.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why am I seeing this? I'm not following this person.
Yeah.
They're not following me. There's no context to it. This isn't hard. These are the people I'm following. Show me their tweets.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can't fix Twitter, but I can do a lot of things, but I can't fix Twitter.
That's good. So tell us
Can you
about
fix stupid? Because there's a lot of that.
because I'm going to ask a
There's
question.
a lot of stupid. If one thing that the crypto winter taught us is ignore the noise. There's a lot of crazy out there. Focus on building, and community is our is our secret app here. All right, and
beautiful. Tell us a little bit. So we were having some conversation before we started interviewing. So as Joel mentioned, Pepo's kind of like TikTok, right?
Yeah.
A little bit of that vibe.
Yeah.
But you have a really interesting background. Like you were way back in the day working with AOL and managing the chat group. So maybe how did your journey go from there? And you said you invested in Twitter, and so you've been on this messaging front for a long time. Tell us about that evolution.
I'm not gonna tell you. I mean, my first job after working in government for a little bit. My first job actually was working with Bill Clinton in the 90s. Then first job.
I do not remember working with Jason Goldburg.
I did not have sex with that woman, Miss Lewinsky.
That chat room.
I did not tell anyone to lie. Now let's get back to work. Focused on Pepo. Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, I can tell you something. We do this for a long time. I worked at the White House for 6 years. The first startup was Clinton's campaign in 1991. I dropped out of college when I was 19 to work on this. Right?
Was it worth it?
It was amazing. I was 6 years spent. But the funny thing though was there was one day in 1996 where I was doing Clinton impersonations at the White House. And I didn't realize he was behind me. All right. And he's like, Jason, do it again. Literally nonstop.
Now with the cigar. Do it with the cigar.
I was like, oh, shit. My life, like, I'm fired. No, so in 1998, I went to work at AOL and was product manager for community, for chat rooms. And basically, that's what I've been doing ever since. I mean, I started a company called Jobster, which was social recruiting in 2002. Started a company called Social Median, was the first kind of social news aggregation service in 2008.
What was that called?
Social Median. It was before we had apps. So we had a website that within a few months we grew to 6 million users, sold the company very quickly. I started a company called fab.com, hem.com. This is Pepo we're doing now. So
you work with these small four-letter domain
I love these little
names,
small little
Beautiful.
domain names, right? It was Fab, Hem, Pepo, right?
How'd you get Pepo?
Pepo was, the idea was it was all about people. People is, wants to meet your peeps. And I bought the domain in
Yo,
I think
my
it was
Pepo peeps.
2015. I bought it.
Because you're like, I feel sick. I need some Pepto-Bismol.
There you go.
What a great idea for a brand.
But let me give you the whole kind of concept. So back in 2016, I was basically coming off selling a company, this old company called Hem, and was thinking about, what comes next. And what I got really excited about, when I looked at kind of, crypto and especially Ethereum and programmable money, was the idea that basically we could create the internet of money. That first we had the internet of information, then we had the internet of people, and now we could create the internet of money. And the concept that I had back in 2016 was basically that if we were going to enable, let's say, every Instagram to be able to basically to have earn actual money rather than just clout, how would you do that, right? And so the idea was enable influencers, content creators to be able to keep what they earn, earn for what they create rather than giving it to the platforms. That was the idea. And 2016, we got to work and started building all the technology you would need in order to do something like that. And so the company's called OST, Open Simple Token. We've been building a technology platform for 4 years. And we're right now the only company that is able basically to create a fully embeddable smart contract wallet in any app. And that's what you see in Pepo, is that there's underneath the hood of Pepo is a smart contract wallet, which enables you basically can have multiple devices access the same funds. It enables you to have this amazing experience where every like transfers a token, and you don't have to have any waiting times. It's super fast. You don't need to even know what gas is or anything like this. It just works, right? And that was from coming back in 2016, thinking about what would it take to tokenize an app like Instagram. We kind of worked back from that to where we're at today with Pepo. Now, I know you mentioned TikTok, right? What we looked at is that it's not about TikTok. It's about short form videos where you earn more than just likes. And the videos on Pepo are more business work focused. So we purposely looked at this as like, what LinkedIn was to Facebook is what we're trying to create to TikTok. A very professional, kind of purposeful, short form video application. And I'll tell you, people love it.
Well, okay, so I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah.
I signed up, and I'm looking, here's a video I shot, the first one I shot, and it's got next to it P31. Does that mean I got 31 likes?
You've earned 31 cents on that.
I earned 31 cents.
31 Pepo coins. And each the Pepo coin is actually worth about 1.5 cents right now, because it's basically pegged to the value of the OST token, which is about 1.5 cents right now.
I've already got 9 supporters.
There you go.
I've received 2,728 Pepo, and I see this wallet here. Now, is this a token that
You can cash out.
I can cash it
so
out?
if you click on this top navigation here, you actually can visit the Pepo store. And the Pepo store, you can cash out for Amazon gift cards, for Uber, Starbucks, one of our partner companies, Brewdog, which is one of the fastest growing craft beer companies in the world. You also can buy more Pepo coins in the app as well. So
okay, but it says here that I've got no unicorns right now.
So if you go back to the app, so basically in the app, you can convert your Pepo coins to unicorns. And unicorns are they're stable coins. And so basically, first you convert to stable, and then you cash out.
Okay, so I can buy unicorns with my balance.
There you go.
And one unicorn is 55.05 Pepo.
There you go.
And since I have 3,200 Pepo, I can buy a whole stack of unicorns.
Exactly. And then you can cash out your unicorns. Each unicorn, one unicorn to the dollar.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cash out 10. I'm going to buy 10 unicorns right now, and it's going to do my little Face ID. It says, yep, that's you. And how fast is all this?
First of all, it's like a transaction in the Pepo app. Just if you send someone a token, it's just less than 2 seconds right now for us to confirm the transaction on the blockchain. Every transaction is on chain. Other thing, just tell you, so we launched Pepo in beta at DevCon in Osaka, so the Ethereum conference in Osaka.
When was that?
Is in October. In Japan in October. And what 1/3 of all participants at DevCon used the app. They gave us tons of feedback, and then we basically did a relaunch of it a couple of days ago.
Okay.
And the usage is just taken off. It's 400% increase in usage the last week. It's just flying. It's over half of all ETHDenver participants are now on the Pepo app creating videos here.
Oh, that's great. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to get followers? Now, you don't even get followers. You got to pay to support somebody to follow them, right?
Exactly. So basically, there's two things. So one is...
I don't have any supporters.
No. So... first of all, create a video, right? So if you create a video, people will like your video. They'll
discoverable. Is it how are they discoverable?
So
just
basically,
by hashtags?
Hashtags. There's a feed that basically we have a learning algorithm that predicts what people are going to like based on what they're watching and what they're interacting with. And so we show you more of what you like and less of what you don't. The second is in Pepo, there's communities, and this was actually what the early users taught us. Is if you click on the search icon, you'll see that there are these communities you can subscribe to.
Oh,
and by subscribing to community, then you get a notification for every video added to that community. And this is where it's like these micro communities and kind of interactions are happening. And that's where you have with DevCon right now. with ETHDenver right now. I mean, there are over 200 videos been created by the ETHDenver participants in just the last 24 hours.
So we can make a bad crypto community on here for the citizens of the Republic of Bad Cryptopia.
Yeah. And then every time you guys post a new video, Pepo users, they subscribe to Bad Crypto, will get a notification.
How do you create a community?
Yeah. So right now it's manual. We have we'll send you like a link that you can do to basically fill out a tiny little form. Our team will create it for you.
A tiny little form.
And how will they find it? They'll just type in Bad Crypto?
Exactly. And then in 2 weeks from now, you can do it yourself, but we'll get you guys the one,
So whenever this goes live, which will be in I don't know,
soon.
3 or 4 days. So they should be able to go type in Bad Crypto, and there'll be the community there. You can go check it out. How many communities are there so far?
So I think there's like 20 of them right now.
Oh, nice. So really early.
Yeah.
So here we go. I converted my Pepos. Now I have 10 unicorns. That equals $10. And if I click on Amazon, a $10 gift certificate costs me 10 unicorns. So I click request, and then you guys will, it says our team will reach out to you on the email of your Twitter account.
Yeah.
So you'll send me an email to say why are you doing, just so you know where to send it.
Just basically to make sure that the gift card gets to the right place. What we didn't want to do is have you somehow you enter in the wrong email address or something like that. Just make sure we get you the gift card.
So I just cashed in for $10 for an app that I just started using yesterday.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, snap.
There you go.
Great. That is great.
Earn more than likes.
That's
right?
true. So when you sign up, when they sign up, right, you get
500 Pepo coins when you sign up. Right now, that's worth about $7.50. That's a nice deal,
Not
right?
bad.
Yeah.
Is there anything that we could do for the Bad Crypto listeners, like to give a little extra, little hookup or something?
Yeah, look, anyone who signs up with the hashtag Bad Crypto, basically post a video with the hashtag Bad Crypto, we'll put them an extra 500 Pepo coins in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, snap.
There you go.
Hashtag Bad Crypto on your video.
There you go. Pepo.com. Check it out, guys. We're going to be on there and look for the Bad Crypto community so you can engage with Mr. Travis Wright and myself.
Awesome. Thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it.
This is excellent.
What do you think about that, Mr. Joel Comm? That's pretty cool, isn't it?
I think it's super cool. And it was several weeks ago that we were at the event and started using Pepo. I'm here in San Diego as we're recording this, and I used it today, and I've been using it, and I've been earning Pepo tokens, and I have used the redemption feature to redeem for $25 in Amazon.com gift cards.
Yes. Yeah, that's one of the things I think that this app, if done right with the right communities and the right people on there, it's a really cool way to communicate. And I think it does have a lot of potential. It's really fun. It does seem to be pretty addictive to it when you're in a groove. I think it seems even more fun when you're at an event. Like when there's more people at it, there's all around you, when there's something going on. So what we've kind of done is create our own event. And if you go to, if you're on Pepo and you use the hashtag Bad Crypto, then what that does is that adds that to the Bad Crypto community. And so you can go in there and see other people from the Republic of Bad Cryptopia. What you can do is do hashtag Bad Crypto, and then maybe hashtag which episode you're just listening to, and then make a discussion about something that you just heard on that show. And then Joel and I, if we hear your thing, we'll go ahead and send you some Pepo.
Well, we want to engage with you. And so, the thing about many of the social apps, I can post on Instagram stories on the Bad Crypto channel as we do, and you guys can reply with a comment. And we could post on Twitter and you could reply. Now, you could do a video there, but most people don't do a video reply on Twitter. But Pepo is designed for video. So when you go on here and you see a video from one of us, then you can actually engage with that video, even if it's from my account or Travis's account. If you use the hashtag Bad Crypto or Stay Bad as a hashtag,
that works too.
That works too. Then you'll be in the community. So here's what you do when you're in the app, and I'm going to make a video of this, Travis, and post this here so that everybody can see this. But if you go to the app, on the bottom, you'll see a little search spyglass there, and tap on that, and then you'll be in the communities. Go to the communities and scroll down so you see the Bad Crypto podcast. There's actually 33 members that have joined that community already, and we haven't even told you guys about it. So people are discovering our community on Pepo. And again, when you shoot your video, for it to show up in the community, all you have to do is include the hashtag Bad Crypto or Stay Bad. And now when you see us, you can post a video back. Now we can have a real discussion and engage with you guys on a social app using video. And that's pretty cool. And you're going to earn Pepos while you're doing it.
That's right. You're going to earn Pepos while you're doing it. Look at me right now. I'm actually making.
Are you doing it right now?
I'm doing it. Can't hear you though, Mr. Joel Comm, because you're in my ear holes.
People's earning Pepo. That's awesome. So apparently he's making a video as we speak. So you guys check it out.
Boring video though so far. Mr. Joel Comm won't wave.
Oh, I'm waving. Hi.
There you go. Yay, Mr. Joel Comm, wave.
We're on video here remotely recording this while he's shooting this Pepo. So it might seem really confusing, but if you guys go to get the app, it's free on both iOS and Play Store. And now I hear him playing it in the background. There,
I muted it. I've now muted it successfully. Yeah, so come check it out. It's fun to play. There's some fun social stuff. A lot of fun stuff in social starting to happen, Mr. Joel Comm.
Absolutely. Check out the latest edition of EOS Voice News. We just recorded an episode because the beta is not only live, but I've managed to get in. Travis is almost in. He's like at the door banging on, let me in.
I've already lost my voice crypto.
Oh, that's what you do. And we've created a video to go with the audio podcast. So if you want to see what this looks like on the inside, it's definitely got potential. I believe that the team is very serious about this. This is, they've invested a lot of money in it. It's, I'm not going to spoil it by telling you too much about it yet, but I will say that they have found a really interesting way to use the voice token on the platform. It's the cleverest thing that I've seen there. I've not seen it done anywhere else. So if you'll look in the apps, the podcast store for EOS Voice News, make sure you subscribe to that. Go listen to it. I think you guys are going to enjoy it.
Oh, and before we forget, we've got a special collectible NFT for you commemorating this episode. I mean, this is a show with Vitalik in it, and Ethereum is what we use to create the ERC-20 NFTs. And so how could we do this without offering you an exclusive Bad Crypto collectible NFT? So here's what you need to do. You've got 72 hours from the time this episode drops to go to this URL. Have your Ethereum wallet address ready. It'll make it easier. Go to badco.in/VIT, VIT, badco.in/VIT. Put your name, email, and your Ethereum address where you store your NFTs. And then we're working with the system to try to automate this process. But for now, just fill out the form. And when we close out the offer, we will airdrop the NFTs to everybody who has filled out the form in time. You've got until this Wednesday night, which is going to be Wednesday, the 11th at midnight Eastern Standard Time, to fill out the form, and then it will go away forever. And by the way, we are soon going to start rewarding you for having multiple NFTs in your wallet. So you don't want to miss out on any of these. It is our proof of listening. Go to badco.in/VIT and get your collectible Vitalik NFT.
Mr. Travis Wright is still peepoing.
I'm still peepoing.
So I'm going to finish the show while he peepos, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode. Until then, stay peepo.
Stay bad
and bad
while you work.
Who's bad?
The Bad Crypto Podcast is a production of Bad Crypto LLC. The content of the show, the videos, and the website is provided for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes only. It's not intended to be and does not constitute financial, investment, or trading advice of any kind. You shouldn't make any decisions as to finances, investing, trading, or anything else based on this information without undertaking independent due diligence and consultation with a professional financial advisor. Please understand that the trading of Bitcoins and alternative cryptocurrencies have potential risks involved. Anyone wishing to invest in any of the currencies or tokens mentioned on this podcast should first seek their own independent professional financial advisor.